Here's an analogy using video games to describe my 3 levels to awakening. First, you are a character, a video game character inside the game, separate with all the other characters without knowing that you are inside the game. Second level, you become the screen, the all-knowing witness, detached from the game and the character, the God consciousness. Third level, the screen and all the characters and the game and the environment merge into one indistinguishable whole. You're also the nothing that manifests the entire game and all variations of all the games and all the characters simultaneously throughout the universe. Nothing is work, it's left to the imagination. See, Einstein said imagination is unlimited and that knowledge limits. Bao said that in this work, imagination also limits. Go beyond imagination. Bruce Lee said that be like water. I said go beyond be like water. So the final fruit on the path is nothing like you can imagine. You can gather up the world's greatest artists, greatest musicians, writers, scientists even, philosophers, and put them in a room and then make them imagine the most beautiful, fucked up, and amazing and creative shit. And then put it in one big mixtape. It will still not even touch enlightenment. Why? Because this stuff is beyond the mind. Beyond the mind. Totally beyond the mind. I think a retarded person has just as much chance of getting enlightened as a genius. Yeah. With the right techniques, methods, training, you can make what every sage and mystics that's been talking about this thing since the beginning of time. You're waking, walking around, 24/7 default reality.
You can read it from here if you want.
I'll read it. Okay, so I turned on the TV to watch an NBA game for the first time in a decade. Today's NBA is like a video game that constantly updates itself with players that have no identities. Yeah, they're scoring more points than all-stars from the past generations. Teams started jokes 20 years ago, made it to the playoffs, and deep into it, dominated by players that are anonymous unless you follow the game. All superstars are eliminated from the playoffs. Literally, I turned on the TV and watched the NBA Finals. I was like, who the fuck are those players, man? Except after Stephen Curry, the anonymity enters the Matrix, accumulating with Kobe's death and the pandemic, we're now inside an alternative universe. The game has been moved from big man dominating in the center to beyond the three-point line. Players are no longer confined to their specific roles, and all positions are shape-shifting. Superstar athletes like consciousness of the Buddha, superstar athletes of consciousness like Buddhas, Christ, and gurus like MJs are a thing in the past. There are no more dynasties, anyone can win a championship now. Likewise, thanks to the internet, enlightenment is now available to the common man. Some of the most infinite concepts I know are not teachers or gurus, but normies with no followers or profile pics. Meditators are the athletes of consciousness. When you reach the endpoint, there's nothing but the universe flexing itself. Locke Kelly said that the first glimpse he had of 4K 360 awareness, which is the nature of mind, was when he was playing sports. If every NBA player attained non-duality, their game would be next level. Panoramic core vision by default, even when you're fucking. Athletic abilities and consciousness levels are evolving side by side. Sprinters are getting faster, bodybuilders are getting more juicy, and thoughts have bigger glutes. Slam dunk contests and sneakers are more psychedelics than ever. Different players have their own unique style to accomplish the same goal, which is putting the ball in the basket. Different practices from different traditions and different ideologies lead to different phenomenological and perceptual shifts at the end. And different flavors of realization and mystical experiences all lead to enlightenment, which has no levels. And this process of decentralization reminds me of shifting from banks to Bitcoins. And it also reminds me of the moment-to-moment experience of having no center. Agent, controller, perceiver of any kind. In the quantum entanglement of dependent origination, after you untangle and dissolve not just the knots of perception inside the head, but deconstructing and transcending even the background, the quote-unquote I am, one mind, by smashing the ground of being or the Godhead into infinite numbers of universes that are all codependently and simultaneously rising with, through, and as each other. But of course, you can put the God mind back experience both the billion pieces and the whole simultaneously, because they gives rise to each other again. Transcending and letting go of the universal mind or the individual mind ultimately only deepens the experience of it. Why are you laughing? I'm doing my PowerPoint presentation, bro.
I delight in every utterance, every letter, every intonation, the way that you jiggle when you do it. I just love you, man. I love your ability to pursue a metaphor until it's enantiodromia, to really do like we did in the laundromat, to really like find the infinite in the mundane. And that for me is like my ultimate spiritual practice is filmmaking, because it's like I was talking to Atlas before you jumped on. We thought you were having a monstrous poop. And I know how you poop, so we were not going to go into it now. But
you film my miso pooping. I think filmmaking is very interesting, because like when you look at as a director, as a person watching the film, it's kind of like unilocality. It's kind of like just consciousness, just floating around, right? Because when it doesn't take sometimes it does, but it doesn't really take a perspective of one specific character so much as like how the cut of the movie is kind of like a dream where you just kind of decentralize. There's this, the camera is here, now it's there, now it's there, now it's there, now it's inside their mind, now it's outside, there's the helicopter shot, now it's this and that. So it's just kind of it's kind of like the quote unquote witness. The watching the movie is kind of participating in the God witness in a sense, and then you're doing it with the finite through the mundane and the infinite through the finite, blah 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 blah. Maybe they haven't woken up out of awakening itself. Realize that nirvana is samkhara. Maybe they're Arahat, they're in the clouds of nirvana, but they haven't realized that nirvana is samkhara. Maybe they're bodhicitta, and they can't let go of the fact that compassion and universal love is not the trap from total freedom. So you want to be free to be able to help people when you want and not help people when you don't want. See? If you're still trapped in the idea that you have to help everybody wake up, and then you're still in a dream. See, that's the difference between Arahat, Bodhicitta, and a Buddha. See, I'm not talking about Gautama, the person. See, you're both neither a nobody and a somebody and everybody. They haven't woken up out of oneness to realize that the deepest form of unity is the inclusion of all the states of consciousness, including the particulars. Every sensation that you perceive are your tentacles, and you're just shape-shifting, color-wise, form-wise, moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. When I hear the cars outside right now, driving by, it literally feels like that's quote-unquote my tentacles. And if a car drives away towards that directions, it feels like my tentacle is extending, stretching towards that direction. And the potentiality of this octopus, the form of this formless octopus, is infinite. And it's not like see, this is where the metaphor fails. This octopus has no head. So it's not like this Mitsu here is in the center, and that you're just like all tentacles around the center of the octopus that's stretching from this cockpit. It's not like that. The Mitsu, the brain and the mind, what you previously perceived before waking as the center of your experience, is just another tentacle or tentacles. Every single thought is a sort of a branch of this infinite web of tentacles. That's the twist. That's the twist. And see, this cosmic octopus doesn't have inherent existence apart from the interconnections and relations and interpenetrations and causes the conditioning. See, the color of the octopus is only dependent on the environment. So this octopus is one of those nodes. And at the ultimate level, they're neither the nodes nor the links. Everything is happening spontaneously and simultaneously.
So your entire reality is made up of sensations. Thoughts are literally in the same space as the clouds and the skies as a matter of direct experience because you were never inside the body. So all the sensations, they're physically, viscerally penetrating each other. And each time a sensation rises, it feels like I'm getting tickled. And the me is the source that's non-locatable and is manifesting the entire world right now. And it's manifesting you and all your sensations right now as well. And each sensation, the moment it arises, is the moment it vanishes. So each sensation actually gives this kind of this shape, like expansion and contraction simultaneously, that this shapes. And that expansion and contraction process is what's giving rise, giving birth to all the particular sensations simultaneously. And it's the same thing that's giving rise to the present moment, because the past and the future are contracting and expanding to give rise, give birth to the present. And you can extend this process, activity, to the birth of a star and the atom. But I don't like going that far. I just like to go with my direct experience. But anyway. And what's interesting is that Xi Jinping said this acute, microscopic observation of a sensation arises is the moment it vanishes is very crucial, because people only notice this when a sensation rises. They never notice the moment it passes, nor do they notice that they're arising and passing away simultaneously like this. And it's interesting because before my enlightenment, I was doing that practice, expansion and contraction simultaneously. I was focusing my attention to a single point that's smaller than an atom, quote unquote. And at the same time, I was expanding my peripheral awareness, my being, to all of infinite space. So I'm doing the Dzogchen practice and I'm doing the Vipassana at the microscopic level simultaneously. Before I was doing one or the other. 2 weeks before my alignment, I was doing them both simultaneously. And that gave rise to the Big Bang, see? Very interesting. And see, all the sensations are penetrating each other. And they're arising through, with, and as each other through infinite webs of conditions that are connected to infinite other webs of condition at infinite, okay? And the trick is, even the links between those sensations are empty. Even emptiness is empty. See, people need to empty out emptiness, because emptiness is not some kind of substance or substrate that sensations or the world are coming in and out of. I used to think that, but that's wrong. That's another mental fabric, just like awareness is another mental fabrication. Things are arising and manifesting as the source. So if you try to find that source or try to find the true quote unquote emptiness, your quote unquote true self, you can't locate it. That's why I call it non-locality. Because if you can locate it, that's just another object that you can objectify within awareness. And what do we learn from self-inquiry? Anything that could be objectified is quote unquote not self. If you take this to the extreme, you're gonna feel like you completely vanish into the warm blanket of the universe, but the matrix still goes on and perceiving itself at the macro, cosmic, and the microscopic level simultaneously. And it's hard to explain, but that's what love feels like at the deepest level, bro.